My name's Amanda, and this is our second Digital Academy webinar. It's nice to see some of you came back after the first, and nice to see some new names appearing. So the session today is going to be mail merge in Word, and we'll get right on with it right now. So let's start by discussing what mail merge actually is. In order to do a mail merge, you will need two things. You will need some sort of document. That can be an email that you've got in a Word document, can be a letter, or we'll have a look at doing labels as well. And you will need a data source. So I'm just going to open up the data source so you can see what it is we're working with. At the end of this session, we will be sending you across the files that we've used so you can have a go at them yourself. And we'll also be sending you a feedback form so you can let us know what you think. So in here, I'll just correct that to put an F in there. I've got first name, last name, I've got a first line of an address, city, postcode, date, ID, score, membership level, and gender. So this is the information that I can use to put into my document. And the idea of mail merge is to take what is normally a standard letter, and we've all received them with Dear Sir, Madam. And if you're a parent, I'm sure you've had the your son's /daughter, he /she, and it's just not very nice receiving that when you think, well, certainly as a parent, you've had my child now for so many years, you ought to know their name and you ought to know what gender they are. So we've got this information and we're going to use this instead of using Dear Sir, Madam. We're going to be using first name and last name. And this is going to allow us to build a more personalized letter without us having to create each individual one. Now, obviously, normally I would have a lot more names than this. So I've only got 4 listed here because I run out of imagination for making up things like names and addresses. But let's imagine there are hundreds of names listed here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a template for creating my documents. Now, the first thing to be aware of is that our data source must be closed. So I can't have this open once I try to connect it to my Word document. So I'm just going to close that. And I'm going to open up my mail merge letter. So your data could be in a table in Word, it can be in Excel, or it could also be your Outlook contacts. If any of you have taken the time and effort to fill out all of the information for your contacts, things like date of birth and that sort of thing, then it's quite possible that you will be able to use those in your mail merge. So to start a mail merge, we start on the mailings ribbon. And it's nicely set up because we start on the left and we work across to the right hand side. Now, as you can see, a lot of these are grayed out, which means I can't do anything with them yet. So the first thing you need to do is decide what sort of mail merge you want to do. I've got letters, email messages, I can create envelopes or labels. So I'm going to start with a label. We're going to create the address labels that are going to go on the envelopes that go with that letter. Now, in the label options, you need to find which label vendor you're using and then the code that they've got associated with that label. That will mean that your document is perfectly set up to print on all the labels in the right place and you won't have them overlapping or going across multiple labels. So I'm going to imagine that I've got a printer with Avery A4, A5, and the code I'm using is 23525, which is a standard address label. Click OK. And it will now give me my labels. So here's my label document. All mail merge starts with us connecting the document to the data. So next to start mail merge is my select recipients. So this is who I'm going to be sending that information to. I could type a new list, or if I'm doing an email, I could choose from Outlook contacts. But as we saw, I've got an existing list. So I'm going to select that option. And then over here, I'm going to select mail merge and my mail merge data. Because it's an Excel spreadsheet and there could be more than one sheet in the file, it suggested what sheet I might want to use. And another important thing is to make sure that you tick the first row of data contains column headers, if it does. So I'm going to say OK, and you can ignore all of these extra grey things that have suddenly appeared, because the only thing we're going to focus on with labels is this top left corner. What you'll also notice is most of these are now available again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the first label using those merge fields from the document that I connected, the Excel file in this case. And to do that, I'm going to ignore all of these, and we're just going to use Insert Merge Field, click on the drop down, and here I can now see all of the headings that I had in that Excel file. This is why it's really important to make sure those headings have a good name, one that enables you to identify what is in that column. Because if I just got name for those two fields and I got random things in here, I wouldn't know what was in the field. I can't have the data source open while I'm doing this, so I need to make sure I know what each column represents. So imagining a label, we'd normally put their name first. So I'm going to do first name and then a space, and then I'm going to add the last name. That's normally my first line on an address label. Press enter and I can now put in the first line of the address. Enter again and I can do the city. Enter again and I can do the postcode. At this point, what I've done is I've put in the area that I want those bits of information to go in. To be able to see what that's going to look like, I'm going to click Preview Results. And I can see the first bit of information. So my first row or record in my Excel spreadsheet was for John Smith, and that's his address. If I want to check the next person, I can use these arrows up here. So this moves me on to the next record, and onto the next one, and onto the last one. To go back to the beginning, I can use the first record, or to go to the end, I can use last record. If I'm happy with how that looks, then I can do the update labels. If I'm not happy, I can go and make changes, and it's easy in this view because I can actually see the data that's going to be in my label. So as I said, once I'm happy, update labels will then copy that same formatting with the same merge fields to the other labels. So we started with Start Mail Merge and the type of mail merge we wanted to do. We then did Select Recipients and we used an existing list. And then we used the column headings to know what information we wanted to put into that first label. And then once we were happy with the first label, we clicked Update Labels. If I click Preview Results again, you'll see it goes back to first name, last name, address, city, and postcode. So this is not a merged document. What I need to do to make that a merged document is click Finish and Merge at the end, and I've got three options here. If you'd selected to send an email, then you would select Send Email Messages. If what you want to do is send this straight to the printer, I can click Print Documents and it will ask me if I want to do all records. If you've got hundreds of thousands of addresses you're going to be printing, maybe not tie up the printer all at once. You could do different records, so I could do from record 1 to record 10,000 and it would print the first batch, and then I could do more afterwards. And then we click OK. If you're not ready to print them yet, we can use the Edit Individual Documents. So what this will do, I'm going to select all records, is it will create a new document. So you can see at the top it says Labels 1. So this is not the same document that I was working on before. If I go to Mailings, there's no preview results. Nothing in here is a field. To go to my original document, let me just swap back to it. So this is my original document. It's still here, So after I've done that, finish and merge, edit individual documents, if I find I've made a mistake, maybe I've missed out a village or a town, I can come back to here. I can add the extra information in, and then all I need to do is finish and merge, edit individual documents, and it will produce another new document with the actual merge fields in. So this is my final document. I can now save this. So I can go to File, Save As, and I can save it into my Mail Merge folder as Tables. And that's all Mail Merge is. It's taking personalized information from a data source and adding it into a document that you're creating. And it makes no difference whether that document is a letter or labels or an envelope or even an Outlook email. So that was a really short session. No, we're not done yet. I'm now going to have a look at the document that I created earlier, which is my letter template. Close these. And it's lost my template. Great. There we go. So this is a letter I want to send out to the people in my data list. So I'm going to put in today's date. I'm going to add their first name and last name. And then we're going to confirm what score they got. We're going to add their membership details. And then we want to choose one of these statements. So if they're a gold member, we want to say that. If they're a silver member, we want to say that. And as a bronze member, we want to add that instead. So let's start with the basics. Back to the mailings ribbon, and we want to select the recipients, and we're going to use the same list. So in Mail Merge, my Mail Merge data. And now what I can do is start replacing the first name with the Mail Merge field. And if you prefer looking at actual values rather than the fields, I can put preview results on, and then I want to space, and then I want to put in the last name. So I can now see Dear John Smith, and if I flick through, I can see the other recipients. I can take that off for now so that you can see what the Mail Merge fields are. So all it is the little chevrons with the name of the field that I'm including from my data source. So you scored, and let's insert the score. Below are your current membership details. So address, I'm going to add address, line 1, comma and a space, and I'm going to add in the city, comma and space, and the postcode. Last renewal date, I happen to know that the field called date is the date they last renewed. So I'm going to add that in. And their ID from their membership, I'm going to add that in there as well. So all of these are what we call fields. And in order to see what the field is, I can right click and I can go to toggle field codes. And you can see that this field is a merge field. In other words, it's coming from our data source, and the field that it's using is called first name. I'm going to right click and toggle that field back. There are other fields that we can use. So for today's date, that's not in my Excel spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click where I want the date to go, and I'm going to go to Insert, and under Quick Parts, you will find the options for inserting fields. And this is a big long list of all the fields that you can insert. Amongst them is Merge Field, but the one that I want is going to be Date. So I can see the description is it's going to put in today's date. That means I don't have to go and amend the date if I don't print these today. If I don't finish what I'm doing, I can come back to it later. Next to that, we've got the date format. How do I want it to appear? So I'm going to go for 7th of August. And you can see it's put in a little code there. We'll come back to those codes in a bit. I'm going to click OK. and you can see that it's a field because it has a grey background. When I right click, as well as toggling the field code, I can also update the field. So if any information has changed in any of these automatic fields, I open up tomorrow, the date will obviously have changed, then I can use update field on my right click. So I've got their details in here, back to mailings, preview results, and you scored 85.75. The first thing I want to do is tell them whether that's a pass or a fail. And I've decided that if they score 80 or more, then it's a pass. If not, it's going to be a fail. So to do that in terms of my mail merge, I need to use this score field. But I can't just insert the score because that doesn't give me that information. So I'm going to use one of the rules. In here, I've got a rule called if then else. So if they've scored more than 80, then we want to put a message in saying that they've passed. If they haven't, then we want to put a message in saying that they've failed, obviously being very polite. So if then else. What field determines what I'm putting in this letter? So it's going to be the score. And then how am I comparing it and what am I comparing it to? So if the score is greater than or equal to 80. If it is, I want to put in some text. Congratulations. If I can spell. You have passed. If they haven't passed, a message saying they haven't passed this time and to contact us to arrange additional training and a resit. Click OK, and now I can have a look at those results. So John Smith, 85.75, congratulations, you've passed. 92.5, congratulations. 76, unfortunately you didn't pass this time. So I can use the if then else based on one bit of information I already have to change what I put in my document. And I can determine what that is by typing in the two different responses that I want. Sometimes we can use this on a name. So for example, if I wanted Dear Mr. or Dear Ms, then I could use it here. Rules, if then else. This time I would be looking at gender. So if it's equal to male, then I want Mr. And if not, I want Ms. So that then appears in here and I can check it's working by looking at the other records. So that's a good start on our letter. The problem is that gender isn't exactly binary anymore, and neither are my membership options. So I've got as a gold member, as a silver member, and as a bronze member. So that's 3 choices. And if I go to if then else, I've only got 2 options. It either is equal to the comparison or greater than or less than, or it isn't. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create my own field codes, and that's going to allow me to make multiple different selections for the different membership levels. And to do that, I need to create my own codes. So I'm going to turn off preview results, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Control and press F9. That puts me in a pair of curly brackets, and that's going to contain my different choices for how I put text into this document. So the first thing I'm going to put in is if, because if means I'm making a choice. The next thing I need to put in is another pair of curly brackets, because I need to tell it, first of all, that the field I want is a merge field, and secondly, what that merge field is. Now, if you can't remember, you can always have a look back here. So what I'm looking for is membership underscore level. So if, and another pair of curly brackets, control F9. Merge field, because that's the type of field I'm putting in. And then what I want to do is tell it which merge field it is that I'm actually looking to include. So that's membership level with an underscore between it. So if the merge field called membership level, and then outside that curly brackets, I'm going to say equals gold. So this is my comparison. We're checking a merged field. So from my data source, the merge field we're checking is the one called membership level. And we're looking to see if it says gold. If it is, I want to put this text in here. So I'm just going to cut that, Control X, and inside my quotation marks, because it's text, I'm going to put, as a gold member, you are entitled to exclusive benefits and discounts. And I'm just going to backspace that so it's on the same line. So that's my first check. I haven't done the what if it's not. So that's what I'm going to do next. And again, I want to check the merge field called membership level, this time to see if it says silver. So another set of curly brackets, Control F9, another if, put it in capitals, and then more curly brackets, as if we didn't have enough already, because I need to say it's a merge field. It's called membership underscore level. And then outside those curly brackets, I need to say equals silver. And then I need to add what I want to say if it's a silver membership. So I'm going to cut this, I'm going to put in my quotes, paste in my document, the field text, and close my quotes again. So now, if it's gold, we put in this text. If the membership level is silver, we put in this text. And then I need to add one more if. So I'm going to do curly brackets again. Another if. Curly brackets again. Merge field. Membership level. And then outside my curly brackets, I'm going to put equals bronze. And if it is bronze, I want to put in this text here, which I'm going to put inside my double quotes. I missed the full stop, so I'll add that in there. So we've now created multiple conditions. If the membership is gold, we put in this text. Else, if the membership is silver, we put in this text. And if the membership level is bronze, we put in this text. And I've just realized I've got to close curly brackets in the wrong place. So let me just take that out here if I can. I might have to do that bit again. Yeah, it's going to make me take the whole thing out. So let's try doing that. Yeah, it's not going to, so I need to do that again. So more curly brackets. If more curly brackets, merge field, membership underscore level, and then outside the curly brackets equals bronze. And I've forgotten what I said that was going to be. as a bronze member, you have access to basic services. Will do. So they are my 3 different conditions. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to toggle the field codes. So as I start toggling them, those will disappear. And when I do the last one, it disappears completely. Don't panic. If I click preview results, I will then see the result from those merge fields. So I can take these out now and I can skip through my recipients, silver member, bronze member, back to gold. So you can create your own fields. All you need to do is use the curly brackets, which you can insert using the Control F9. Let me see if I can toggle these back again. So it's put if silver equals gold because it's using the preview results. So it's actually using the results from my data to check that. If I turn that off and toggle them, hopefully it will show me the membership level. There we go. So I'm creating merge fields. I'm using a field from my data source and I'm telling it what that field is. The if allows me to make a choice. So only if it matches the condition I've set here. So if it's gold, will it put in this gold information? But because I've got 2 more options, I'm then adding another if, which checks to see whether it's a silver member. And then finally, if the membership is bronze, then it will add that in as well. So that's creating your own fields and using what I would call an if then else. Let me toggle all of these back. There we go. So now I can preview the results. I've got different things appearing based on what I've decided is the criteria. And there's another thing that we're going to look at in terms of the fields that we've added. So I've got a score here of 92.5. If I go back, I've got 2 decimal places. Going forwards, I've got no decimal places, and then I've got lots of decimal places. In order to control the decimal places, I'm going to toggle the field code, and I can see that it's merge field score. Now, any fields are able to have what we call switches, which control formatting. And if I just change the field code for this, you can see a switch here. So we've inserted the field called date. That is the switch, the backslash, and the @ tells me that it's a date format that I'm changing. And then inside the quotes, we've got the format we want to use. So D represents day, M capitalized represents month, and Y represents year. The reason that the M has to be capitalized is because a lowercase m stands for minutes. So if we're doing minutes, then we would use a lowercase m. If we're doing a date, we would use a capital M. So I want to change this score so that I've got my own type of formatting. For numbers, what we can use is the hash. So \# tells a word that I want to format this as a number field. And then in the number field, I want to have at least 1 digit. So I'm going to use the 0 mask. And then 0.0 gives me at least 1 decimal place. Some of you may have come across issues, for example, on bank account numbers, where the first few digits might be zeros. You can use this kind of formatting to force leading zeros. So we'll do that in a second with the ID code. So what I'm saying is I'm using the merge field score, but then I'm formatting it as a number, and I'm using zeros to force a number to appear even if 1 doesn't exist. So only 1 decimal place, and always one decimal place. If I wanted to have the thousand separator, I could do a hash, which means if there is a number. So hash, comma, hash, hash would allow me to add that little comma that separates out the 1,000 values. But if we don't have a number that's got thousands or even hundreds or even tens, we only get one number generated. So hash is a possible number, 0 is a forced number. I'll take that out again and we will toggle the field code. And then we'll skip through and have a look. So now we've got 85.8, 92.5, 76.0, 88.3. So by adding that switch and formatting it as a number and forcing it to have at least one whole number and at least one decimal place, I can standardize the way that looks across my different letters. I said we were going to look at leading zeros, so I think we have a 4-digit ID and then we have a single-digit ID. So I'm going to right-click and toggle field codes. Merge field, called ID, and then backspace, I want to do it as a number. So this is just telling Word, that what I want is a number format. And then I need to tell it what the number format is. I want it to always show 4 digits. So 4 digits will always be displayed because I've set that in here. And I'm going to right click, toggle field codes back. And now if I skip through, you'll see I've got 4 digits on the ID number 1 and no extra zeros when I've already got 4 digits in my ID number. So let's look at some of the other formatting that we can add. I've already said that this is the date that gives me day, month and year. So I'm going to format this by right-clicking and toggling the field codes. I want to change the date format, so backslash and at says it's going to be a date. Now the date format that I want, I'm going to put inside the inverted commas because I'm going to have spaces in it. If I was just doing a day / month / year, I could just leave it without the double quotes. But because I'm going to put spaces and maybe commas in it, I'm going to use the double quotes. A single D will give me a single digit where possible for the date. So today's the 7th. D will just give me a 7. 2 Ds will give me a double digit. So if it's less than the 10th, I will get 07. 3 Ds will give me the short name of the day of the week. So today's Wednesday, that would give me WED as my date. And a 4th D will give me the full name of the day of the week. So I've got DDDD, which should give me Wednesday, comma, because I then want the actual date. So I'm going to put in D, and then I want the month. I'm going to have the full name of the month, so 4 M's and a space, and 4 Y's for the full year instead. So similar to the D's, a single M will give me the first digit of the month, so that would be the 8. 2 digits will give me a double digit date, so that would be 08. 3 would give me Aug, and 4 should give me August. Having done that, I'm going to close my double quotes, right click and toggle the field code, and then if I flick between the different letters, I can now see the code that I've created, and I can see how it is displayed in here. There are lots of fancy codes that you can create, and if anybody would like, I have a handout of about 6 pages with different formats that you can create for dates. You can have ordinal numbers, so you can have it as 22 or 5th, or however you would like it displaying. Last one we're going to look at, so we've done dates and we've done numbers. The last one is the formatting option. So if I change the field code here, I can add a switch which will allow me to do things like capital letters or lowercase, the title case options. And for that, it's the backslash and then we use the asterisk. That tells it that I want a text style formatting change. And I think the one for capitals is upper. And I'm just going to test that by toggling the field codes and flicking between the two. And now I have all capitals for their first name. An alternative to upper, might have guessed, all lowercase would be lower. And there are various other options that you can add. And as I say, I do have a handout for that, but I will just briefly show you in my Word field formatting. And so we've got different capitalizations, upper, lower, first capital, like sentence case. Number formats, so you can have it alphabetic instead of numbers. There is cardinal text. We've got dollar text, which allows you to have numbers, and then and between, there's the ordinal text, first, second, third. We've got Roman numerals instead. We've got character formatting, so the first character that you format in your code becomes the formatting for the rest of that field. So for example, in this case, because it's bold, it would format that as bold as well. You might have noticed in some of those, we've got a switch that says merge format. We had it on the date. Merge format means that if you update the field, so when we right clicked, we had the option to update the field, it will retain the formatting when it updates the information. So if you want bold and you don't want it to change when you update the field, then you would use the merge format switch. Here are the number switches. So 0 means there must be a character. Hash means there is an optional character. And here we can see that they've added $sign into that as well. And they've even got calculations in there. So you can do all sorts of things with numeric fields. Decimal points, grouping digits, so that's the thousand separator, and they've got one there for millions as well. If you want to add minus signs and plus signs, change it to have a % sign. And you can also add different formatting for different types of numbers. So this one allows you to format the positive number first and then the negative number second. So you can see negative is bold and it also has a minus sign. There are 3 potential options for positive, negative and 0. So you can add a third option to those positives and negatives just in case something comes out with nothing. And there's an example there. You can also include text in it. So we just looked at formatting the value that came through from my data in Excel. But there's nothing to stop me from doing a calculation with it, formatting it in a specific manner, and then adding some text at the end, which if you notice has got single quotes and sits inside the double quote formatting. So after my backslash and formatting style, I've got the double quotes at the start and at the end. Then I've got the way I want it to be formatted. In this case, I've got all numbers formatted. I haven't separated it out into positives and negatives. And then I've added some text at the end with a single quote to display the text. And this is what that would look like. You can have numbered items. And then if we go down to date and time, so formatting for the month, remember M must be in uppercase, otherwise it will think you're talking about minutes. Day, year, hours, so lowercase h for a single digit, or you can have uppercase, it doesn't matter. It's based on the 24-hour clock instead, so lowercase is 12-hour. We can have the double digits, so 09 instead of just the 9-digit. We've got minutes, we've got seconds. We can also add AM and PM, and it will display according to the time. And we can also add text to that as well. So there's lots of things that you can do in terms of formatting the way things are displayed. The easiest thing is to start with the most basic ones, then use your preview results so you can have a look at how it actually looks. If you don't like the way it looks, then you can always toggle the field codes, you can make changes in there, and you can change the formatting. And there are lots of other fields for you to explore, so don't forget that on Insert, Quick Parts and Fields, there are all sorts of fields there that you can include, things like the last time it was saved, the last time it was printed. You've got lots of other options in there, usernames, initials, that you can use to add into your document to make it do exactly what you want to do. And then as it's a mail merge, we only need to create it once. When we're finished, we go to Finish and Merge, either print them directly or go to Edit Individual Documents, and it will then open that document for you to then print. Notice that my mail merge document still has a field in it. That's because this wasn't a merge field, so it's done nothing with it when it finishes the merge, which means that tomorrow I can still come in, update the field, and it will reflect the current day in here. There is one more quick thing that I want to show you. So I'm going to save this document. Let's save it with a different name. This is my not merged, but joined. I'm going to call it joined. So I've saved this. It's still a document with a data attached to it. I'm going to close that. And I'm going to open the one that I just saved, which I called joined, I think. Here we go. When you open a document that you have joined data to, so I've got my original letter and I've attached the Excel data to it, you will see this appear when you open the document. All this means is, do you want to keep the data that you connected to the document still connected? If you say yes, then it will open with those fields still intact. So I can go to mailings and I can mess around with my fields to my heart's content. If, on the other hand, when I go to open it, I say no, it's got that information for that record in that it had when I closed it. But if I go to mailings, there's no preview results. None of this is attached to anything. So I can see the if, I can see the merge field, and the fact I've got it in upper, but it's not connected to anything. And if I then go and use a different list and those merge fields don't match, it can't find one called first name, then I will start to see problems with the document. It'll say that there's no reference for that field. So just remember, when you open it up, if you see that message, your data is still attached, remember to say yes, or it will break the link and you will have to go through and reattach it to your list. It should be fairly straightforward because I'm using the same data, and then it should allow me to just use that data and preview it as before. That's the end of this session. As I said earlier, we will be sending you across the files that I used today. If you want to have a play around with it, have a go at creating your own mail merge with your own bespoke fields in it. We'll also be sending you a feedback form. Feedback is really useful. If you can give us an idea of what you thought of the session, if there's anything you'd like to see in future, then do feel free to let us know. And thank you for attending. If you've got any questions, I'll be around for the next few minutes to answer any questions you might have. If not, thanks for coming.